Albus Percival Wulfric
Brian Dumbledore. I have no intention of going to Azkaban.
Enough of this. Take him!
That's a storybook, man. Unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It's an indicator of taking black people for granted. It's a way of saying, we got y'all. It's a way of saying, I can be overconfident because I know that you guys always vote Democrat. I can predict how you guys are gonna vote. And I know that you guys have already bought into the narrative that Trump is racist, right? So as long as I'm not Trump, I can do whatever I wanna do. I can say whatever I wanna say, and I don't have to worry about you and any of your concerns and being intelligent enough to speak to your concerns intelligently.
Now, you don't know my state. My state was a slave state. My state is a border state. He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
And I can tell you, as someone who was a little brown girl, I found Joe Biden's words very condescending indeed, and I think a lot of other brown girls would have felt the same way.
I think the two-party system, although my Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this, I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black in the South. Other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind about it.
Biden sought and received support from Mississippi Senator James Eastland, the Democratic chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and a leading symbol of Southern resistance to desegregation. He frequently spoke of blacks as, quote, an inferior race. You said surprising. Surprising in what way?
Well, the fact that he would solicit the support of staunch segregationists, James Eastland, as well as Jesse Helms.
In terms of foreclosure, in terms of bad loans that were being, these Shylocks who took advantage.
Specifically, have you taken a cognitive
No,
test?
I haven't taken a test. Before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not? What do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say to President Trump, who...
Why in this nation do black Americans wake up knowing that they could lose their life in the course of just living their life? They gotta know we're listening. Now is the time for racial justice. We have such an opportunity now to change people's lives for the better. It's about who we are, what we believe, and maybe most importantly, who we want to be. When I marched in the Civil Rights Movement, I did not march with a 12-point program. I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes. I was involved, but I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else. I was, in fact, very concerned about the Civil Rights Movement. I was not an activist. I worked at an all-black swimming pool in the east side of Wilmington, Delaware. I was involved. I was involved in what they were thinking, what they were feeling. I was in law school. I wore sport coats. I was not part of that. I'm serious. I'm not big on flak jackets and tie-dye shirts and, that's not me.
More than once, advisors had gently reminded Mr. Biden of the problem with this formulation. He had not actually marched during the Civil Rights Movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood and kept telling the story anyway. That is really, really weird.
Now, his aides went back to say, look, he was in office marching for the idea of civil rights, but was not actually marching in the streets. But that would not fly as much. But he was supporting civil rights. But I'm saying that in today's
that's not the word marching.
Twitter, okay.
I know, you're just telling what they said.
Right,
but
in the age of Twitter today, Instagram, there would be pictures of him not marching. So you cannot get away with that in this moment. So that's his big challenge.
This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto trying to get to see him on Robbins Island.
I do want to ask you about one thing that you've said repeatedly on the trail. I think it's 3 times now. You said that during a visit to South Africa, to visit Nelson Mandela, which I know was a very memorable visit for you, that you were arrested when you were there. Your campaign has come out since and said, no, you were separated from other people at the airport, but you did say arrest 3 times. Why?
Well, what I meant to say was, I was not able to move. I guess I wasn't arrested, I was stopped. I was not able to move where I wanted to go. I was a kid from suburbia. I lived out in Mayfield in a split-level home, but I didn't know any black people. No, I really didn't. You didn't know any white people either. That's the truth. And I was the only white employee here. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys. And so he was up on the board, wouldn't listen to me. I said, hey, Esther, you, off the board, or I'll come up and drag you off. Well, he came off, and he said, I'll be waiting for you. He was waiting for 3 guys in straight razors. Not a joke. There's a guy named Bill Wright, Mouse, the only white guy, and he did all the pulls. He was the mechanic, and he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. He folded up, he said, you walk out with that chain. And you walk to the car and say, you may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head. So I walked out with the chain. I said, first of all, I said, when I tell you get off the board, you get off the board, and I'll kick you out again, but I shouldn't have called you Esther Williams. I apologize for that. I apologize, but I didn't know that apology was going to work. He said, you apologize to me? I said, I apologize for that, not for throwing you out, but I apologize for what I said. He said, okay, closed the straight razor, and my heart began to beat again. So I learned about roaches.
President, in talking about the continuing recession tonight, you have blamed mistakes of the past. You blamed the Congress. Does any of the blame belong to you?
Yes, because for many years I was a Democrat.
But does any...
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago,